Hello everyone, here we are with Mark Sekula from RUF UK.
RUF.
Roof. That's it's like the roof up there.
Yes.
Okay.
The thing on top of your house, not the TV on top.
How do you say Porsche?
Porsche. What's wrong with that?
No. I know that is correct.
Yeah, but a lot of people just say Porsche.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Porsche.
No, I don't.
Obviously not, but yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where you grow up around, whatever someone says one thing, and then some people tell you something else, and you're like, okay, fine, but
yeah,
tomato.
It is. People pick a lot of it up from parents.
Yeah.
You just do, because again, growing up with, if your dad was like a car fan or whatever, and he will say things in certain ways, then you tend to just kind of do whatever your dad does.
So some people will be listening on the podcast, and some people will be listening on YouTube, because you can watch the video. For the people that are on YouTube, you can see we're in I don't know what to call it. A bunker in the middle of nowhere. We're wearing quite a lot of clothes, and we actually have a heater snuck under this table because it's a little chilly.
It's too cold.
But in the background, we have some roofs.
Seriously. And a Gambala. And some classic Porsches as well, obviously.
So there's quite some cool cars. Yeah. So if you want to check out, if you're listening to the podcast, you can pop over to YouTube and check it out. Otherwise, just carry on listening.
Or actually, you can go to our website, rufautomobile.co.uk.
Yeah.
How about that?
There's your advertising stint out there.
It's got to be done.
So Mark, you and your dad run RUF UK.
Yep.
How did that sort of come about? What did you do before that? Have you been doing this? You've been doing it for a while.
Been in the motor trade since 1998. I was obviously still at school at that point. I'm 34 now. My dad, by trade, was a marketing IT-based consultant. And he decided to step into the motor trade as a hobby, really. Started a website, was Car Spy, the original website. We've still got the Car Spy business now. It's actually our core business. That basically is our sourcing and supplying cars for private clients. Tends to be a global it is a global business now. We've actually got an office in Hong Kong as well. So I'm quite often in Asia, traveling, meeting customers. And
is that where most of the trade for that business is sort of?
For us, it is, yeah. Private clients in UK, and obviously business to business clients in Asia, and private clients in Asia as well. But going back to the original story, 1998, so my dad started. He started the website, and he really went into detail about, okay, if we're going to try and buy and sell cars, how will we show the cars in a way that people will feel, I'm really seeing more than I am in, back then was basically just Auto Trader magazine. I think the Auto Trader website had been launched, but it was a very, very basic website, and you only had sort of 3 or 4 thumbnail photographs. You were really struggling to make out, if it was even the right car. Obviously it was, but they had to fact check these things. But really my dad decided to go into having, 14, 15 high-res photographs, which back then I think were kind of dial-up internet and stuff. It's quite difficult for people to at least see the pictures, download them. But the website worked in quite a simple way. So we found that we were getting guys from Scotland phone up about maybe a TVR or something that we had for sale. And they would be wanting to buy the car over the phone. And really for us, we realized quite quickly that, okay, business was going to be different now. The internet was going to change things. Also on an international level, we were finding, okay, we were importing left-hand drive TTs from Germany, the first generation cars. And we were sort of buying them from Germany, bring them here, and then people would be phoning us and buying them back and taking them back into Europe, which was kind of crazy, but it was just a thing that happened. Fast forward to 2005, I finished university. My dad said to me, look, if you want to work with me full-time, obviously you can. there were no incentives other than, I guess then I could work from home, be working for my dad. And yeah, we basically, at one point, we actually had a site in Epping, near Harlow in Essex. We were still living in Kent, but commuting every other day. If we had customers that wanted to come and see cars, we didn't have like a traditional kind of forecourt. Again, it was kind of a secure storage. So we were selling cars over the internet, and people would be phoning us and saying, "Hey, I'm really interested in this Porsche you've got, or this Ferrari, or whatever." And yeah, that was working for us. And we got to, it was about late 2006, early 2007, and we really could see the market was changing, and that something strange was happening. A lot of the finance companies were starting to back out of the market. Obviously, the crash came in 2008. And around that time, we had a lot of clients that we sold cars to phoning us saying, "Look, I really need to sell my car." And of course, the traditional offer you're going to get from a dealer is far less than if you decided to even try and sell it yourself on Auto Trader or Piston Heads. And we decided to then really look at the brokerage side of the business and saying, well, okay, if we have this customer and he's got a Gallardo, for example, and it's 4 years old, okay, we can take care of all of the prep, the management side of it. Okay, does the car need a service? Does it need this? Does it need that? We would essentially be arranging all of this for the customer, then advertising the car in a way that we felt it really was fitting for the car. And again, we were finding we were able to sell cars even in a difficult market because our presentation was quite high.
Yeah,
it was at a high level. We would never be able to maybe get to the Lamborghini main agent levels, or Ferrari or Porsche or Audi, BMW or whoever, because we wouldn't have the budget. But I think if you're smart about what you're doing and you think, well, okay, what can we do that's different to everybody else, then that kind of worked for us. I guess really you want to know how we ended up with RUF and
how did we end up?
Yeah. Okay. Well, my story with RUF starts when I think I was 13 or 14 years old. It's Gran Turismo on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
I think it was PlayStation, no, on the original PlayStation, Gran Turismo. And I remember I was obsessed with this game. My friend Joe at school at the time, we both had this game, and we would be going to each other's houses after school to play Gran Turismo. And I remember one day, it was lunchtime, we were in the playground or whatever you do when you're 13 years old at school. And he said to me, "Have you seen these cars on Gran Turismo? This car, and it looks like a Porsche, but it's not." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, it's called a RUF or a roof, or he didn't know how to pronounce that." And I said to him, "No, I'll check it out." And I think then you could save the car on like you had a memory card.
Like slotted in.
Yeah, so
above your controller.
Said, we'll try it out. And I think he brought it to mine and showed me this car. And I remember thinking, wow. And like on the game, it was like really fast.
Yeah.
Like really, really fast. Like stupidly fast. And I was kind of like, what is this? So I remember asking my dad and saying, what is RUF? And he then explained to me the whole kind of background, a bit more detail about who RUF are and what they do. But even then, for me, really, it wasn't enough. And Wikipedia and everything then, I guess, was a bit more basic than it is now. But there was still enough information to see online and find out, okay, well, what is this company? And that kind of always kept me interested in the brand and what they were doing. Obviously, I was too young to have a RUF. There was no way I could have afforded one then. So it was just more of a fanboy type of thing, I guess, and just seeing, well, okay, at least I knew what it was, and I knew that it wasn't a Porsche; it was something else. Like a Skunkworks version.
Yeah, those early games, like the early Gran Turismos and stuff, where they didn't have a Porsche license. That did so much for RUF, because like I remember being like, I want to drive a Porsche, and then you're like, well, which one of these RUFs will I drive instead? Yeah. That's 100% where I came across them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a lot of guys now in their 30s and early 40s that are part of that original PlayStation generation, and they know the brand, they're familiar with the name. And, we have a lot of messages on Instagram and Facebook and emails from people that are just like, look, can we come and see you? Can we go to the factory? I've always dreamt about seeing an original yellow bird going out in a car with Alois roof. That is a real thing. And it is because of the exposure from the video games, which is kind of crazy. Nobody really saw it coming, but it's almost replaced traditional media like films, like cinema. Is now, video games, because it's interactive.
And you can play it straight away. And like with those cars, they always had silly amounts of horsepower relative to like what they should have had almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now games have got so good and whatever. Like you get an experience of driving something that, well, even if you've got the money to buy so many cars now, you walk into the dealership and you can't drive one before you buy it.
Yeah.
Go and play it in a video game first.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because it is. You can't imagine going to Ferrari now and asking for a test drive.
Yeah,
because they're just going to be like, "Why? Just buy the car."
It's a really weird concept, isn't it? I'm still very much, if I can, I want to drive something because you don't know what it's going to be like.
You've driven a RUF?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I have.
How did you find it?
Well, so
this is where you need to insert on YouTube.
Yeah. So there's like a link here somewhere to a drive I did with Mark.
Was it early last year or the year before? Maybe
it was maybe last year. Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. It was some time ago, and it was that RTR.
It's a yellow 991,
which is like in the corner back there. And do you want to explain? What that car is? Yeah,
okay.
Just a little brief.
Yeah, it's a 991 chassis, twin turbo, 650 brake horsepower, manual rear wheel drive. It essentially was a car that RUF prototyped back in 2013. That was the kind of 991 GT2.
Yeah.
Not an RS version, but a GT2, I guess.
Yeah, it was sort of before the GT2 RS had come out. Yeah. The closest you could get really was this RUF RTR.
It is an RTR, yeah. There wasn't, as far as I'm aware, anything else in the market, especially manual rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. So Mark's like, okay, come and have a drive. I met him at, it was like Brands or somewhere like that.
We went to see Sam.
Oh yeah.
Near Bromley.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, we met up.
We went to Brands, yeah.
I get. Mark takes me for a little drive, gives me the keys, and I shit you not, I get in the car and it started like hailing.
Wasn't it June or something as well?
Yeah, it was like summer. Basically, the heavens opened and it was like the worst conditions ever to try out a rear-wheel drive.
But were you scared at any point?
No, and actually I think maybe if you'd like turned everything off and like gone a bit loony, then maybe.
But I probably would have asked you not to do that.
You probably would, being as it's like not my car. Like, Sam,
that would have been.
Sam, I'm pressing this button. It's going back on.
Bit risky.
But I felt like on that platform, on the 991 platform, so that car was 650 horsepower.
Yes.
And you could have got it or can get it, I don't know, in 750?
I think RUF were happy to take the car to 8.
Okay.
But again, I think if it's a car that, I mean, Alois often says that a lot of his clients use them as daily drivers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you can go too far. And then it's, okay, well, how manageable is this power, especially in something, again, that is rear-wheel drive manual?
So that, I felt with 650 horsepower, even in like a bit crappy conditions, I thought it felt super stable, like drove really well. Yeah. There was nothing about it that I thought this is like dangerous. Yeah. So I think if it was me, it depends. If that's what you daily drive it, then 100% like smashing autobahns, great. Yeah. But I would probably go like I'd probably go like 700, 750, just to get a little bit of a butt clench. But yeah, I'll let you know.
But I think what we were talking about before, the background. So I always had an interest in the brand. And around 2008, we started dealing with a guy in Thailand, who again he's the same age as me, massive car fan, enthusiast. but he himself was a dealer in Thailand. So he was buying a lot of cars from the UK, a lot of what we call mass market, like Mercedes, brands that are popular in Thailand, but also Porsches and stuff like that. And we were helping him find the cars. He was then taking them to Thailand, reselling them, whatever he needed to do. And he kind of phoned me out of the blue one day and said, Mark, I'm thinking about bringing a niche brand or adding a niche brand to my business. So I have this kind of mainstream luxury premium car business that sells new and used cars, but I really want like a halo brand, something different. And I said to him, well, what kind of cars would you be looking at? He said, well, there's already Brabus in Bangkok, so we can't approach them, but maybe something Porsche related. And funny enough, he suggested 9FF, who again another famous Porsche tuner, not as big as RUF. But 9FF are kind of all about extreme brake horsepower. Yeah. They'll kind of take a 911, heavily modify it, and they'll say, right, 1,000 brake horsepower.
Yeah.
And I think the cars blow up. But I said to him, what about RUF? And it was this kind of pause, and he said, you mean the company that's on Gran Turismo? Again, because he's the same generation, understands what that is, what they do. So from then it became quite apparent to him that this really was a brand that he could maybe approach to take to Thailand. So I got in touch with Estonia RUF and introduced myself, explained what we do, what the project is about in Thailand. And she just said she'd be interested, and we kind of ended up setting up RUF in Thailand as well, and then the relationship really grew from there.
So again, it was really trying to establish that business in Thailand. It wasn't my business; it was a business partner's business. We were helping to manage things for them because at times as well there was a little bit of a language barrier where the guys in Germany they speak great English, but sometimes certain things would get lost in translation, where I was used to dealing with this guy in Thailand and maybe his ways, and then explaining to them, look, this is maybe what he means. And really, RUF had a partner in the UK then that they're working closely with. And again, we didn't want to tread on any toes or anything. We had the odd inquiry that we would just forward onto the factory. Kept an eye on what RUF were doing. Every year we would go to Geneva still, say hi to the guys. If we had somebody that approached us, we're quite happy to just forward them onto the factory. And RUF in the UK, they stopped working with the people that they're working with 2014 or 15. And fast forward to 2016, and RUF really hit Geneva in a big way. They had, you might remember, a blue carbon 964 called the Ultimate, and they had a red extended wheelbase 964 called the SCR 4.2.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah, they were.
Was it like a light sort of pale blue?
Yeah, a bit like this this cable on here.
Yeah,
like a Riviera, Mexico.
Yeah.
And we were blown away really with what they were doing, because again, this 964 was all carbon skin, and the SCR had a longer chassis. And for reasons, I'm not a technical guy, but when Alois was explaining to us why they were doing it, I could then understand.
You're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And we came away from the show, and again, we were still in touch with Estonia and Alois, and really we kind of all between us came up with the idea that we would essentially start running RUF for them in the UK, because we have the close connection. We understand how they work in Germany. We're used to it now for 10, 11 years. So yeah, RUF UK was born in 2016. At first, we just had the website, trying to gauge what level of interest there is in RUF in the UK. Where's it? What kind of clients does it attract? And we had a really, really positive start, because the press here, the motoring press, really picked up on this RUF story. And they all wanted to talk to us and they wanted to get involved, and they're very supportive of what we're trying to do. Even today, we're quite fortunate. I mean, a lot of the magazines will pick up the phone, and they're always on the phone to my dad, Richard, and they're asking him, you know, can we just come and talk about you guys again? You know, we love talking to you guys about these cars because they're so special. And today, really now, 2019, we're entering our third year. We've got the facility near Gatwick for where we are today for secure storage with our own cars, customer cars. We don't do any conversion work in the UK. The cars have to go back to the factory. We can do some light modifications like cosmetics and wheels and parts and accessories, which you can buy on the website from the store. But yeah, really, any real heavy duty work must always be done at Pfaffenhausen. And that is really because of quality control, because anybody could kind of start buying 911s and putting bits and pieces on, but are you going to be able to keep that kind of high standard that Alois RUF and Estonia and the team expect from their product?
Yeah, because I remember you've told me in the past of, I think it was like the original Yellowbird maybe, and it had gone to, it's like the guy, whoever was doing the tyres. It's like Michelin or Pirelli or someone. Yeah. Do you know?
Michelin, they tend to sponsor.
I think you were saying, and the test drivers got hold of it, and normally they're like, come back in and they're like, oh, everything's like, you know, extra wrong, and they were just about handed back the keys and like, yeah, it's good.
Perfect, yeah. And that is actually what happens, because Alois, even now with the new CTR, he will not let the car go until everything is absolutely as he expects it to be.
Yeah.
And it's nice because I think really when somebody's spending the kind of money that these cars cost, even if you just want a conversion, it has to be right. It has to be right. And okay, I mean, for a small business, you can't always get things right. But I think as long as your intention is there to make sure you are going to deliver and say, okay, you know, we've done our best, we believe this is the best we can do, then I think that's good enough in most people's eyes. But Alois, he's a bit of an Anglophile anyway, and I know for example, he likes Rolls-Royce, and he likes what Lord March and BMW and Rolls-Royce have done down at Goodwood, and he is a keen eye for the quality control at Rolls-Royce, the way they really, I mean, I don't know if you've been down there.
I haven't been around.
You really should speak to them and just ask for a factory tour, because when you see really what goes into the final finishing of the car, that again is this, look, everything has got to be right. And okay, I think with RUF is a much smaller outfit than Rolls-Royce. They don't have the same number of employees that can, you know, keep going around these cars every single day, but they try and follow certain principles that when you're selling something that is prestige or rare or collectible, that really, you know, you have to follow that kind of pattern. You can't just say, oh, this is like Renault, that's good enough. No, it's not. And it's got massive panel gaps and things aren't working.
Yeah, because up until fairly recently, RUF were taking Porsche production models and then completely
that's correct
redoing them.
Yeah.
And then are they still doing that, or have they changed?
Well, now that would be a conversion. Okay. So, for example, if you took you haven't got any newer Porsches at the moment, have you? You've got your
G3 RS.
You've got your RS, sorry.
But nothing, no 991 or anything like that.
No. So, for example, if you bought us a Carrera and you just said, look, I wanted an engine overhaul and some cosmetic upgrades and whatever, there isn't actually a RUF 991 base model that they build anymore today.
Right.
They could probably build you like just a Skunk Works kind of random project, which you could ask them to name whatever you wanted to. But yeah, it's more now, okay, with the new cars. So Geneva 2017 was the CTR, and last year was the SCR, the naturally aspirated car. These are based on the new RUF carbon top, which really tells you about the direction of the company and really their plans. They will have essentially two divisions. So new car production, and that will be based on their own top. These first two cars are early days. You know, I mean, they've got big plans for what they want to do with the tub. But they'll still be operating the conversion and restoration side of the business, which they've always been famous for anyway. Yeah. Because you'll still have guys. I mean, we have guys every month that call us and say, look, I've got a 993 or I've got a 964 and, I have this car and what, I've got a budget of 100,000 or 200,000. What can I have? You'll always have those guys. But for RUF as a business, I think what they've realized now, and I think what a lot of people are realizing is that as Porsche start implementing more and more technology into these newer cars, and more of it just becomes less analog and more digital, it's so much harder to work on them as a third party. So even as service centers and stuff will find here, the independent guys, is, well, how will they be able to work with this stuff, especially if Porsche won't release the software and
basically have to hack it,
the diagnostics and whatever, which of course, eventually people will get into it. But the cars now, I mean, I don't know if really they're as durable as they were 20, 30 years ago, in the sense that the older cars you can work on yourself pretty much, whereas now it's like, unless you have a team of like
you have the right laptop and whatever,
and you've got a connection to Porsche GB or the factory, you're not going to be able to diagnose a lot of these problems.
Like I've even small things like if you change the brake pads, like I had the brake pads changed on my GT3, and once you've done that, you have to clear, like sometimes you have to clear codes but you need to plug something in to do that. Like you have to either have a little OBD device or whatever to sort of get it. Like I've done this stuff and get it back.
PWIS, isn't it? Porsche PWIS system, I think.
Something like that. So I'm not sure.
I'm sure it's called PWIS. It was anyway. It was PWIS before.
So now RUF went from they're now fundamentally or basically making the SCR. And what's the other one called?
Yes. So production is now starting on the CTR. So the car from 2017. Okay. So that is the recreation of the original Yellow Bird, the 1987 car.
If you haven't seen that video,
yes, you need
to
check
it out.
You need to watch it with Stefan.
Best Nürburgring lap ever.
It's basically a video of insane drifting. But that was the 30th anniversary. And it's funny because I didn't realize in 2016 when I was at Geneva exactly what RUF were trying to do. But then when I saw the new car in 2017, spoke to Alois, and then I finally understood, okay, the carbon body, the different wheelbase was the essentially the blueprint for what they were trying to do with the carbon tub. Was almost like a preview of what was coming. Nobody put it together, really. Like nobody saw that.
No, I didn't see that coming.
When the CTR was there and Dad and I arrived at Geneva, we were just like, what the hell? This is amazing. This really is amazing. But,
If you haven't seen this car, Google it. It's the RUF CTR, the current one, 2017, 2018.
CTR,
it's yellow.
The current name that RUF are using is CTR 2017. Some of the press are calling it CTR4. Or if you just put in new CTR, I guess it will come up.
And it's essentially, if you've seen it, it looks uncannily like an old car, but it's got a bit bigger, but it's still kind of it was the car of the show for me that year, definitely, as being a Porsche nut and stuff.
Said that,
But like speaking to a lot of people, everyone was like, there was a lot of other stuff that came out at that show, like big name stuff. But everyone was like, have you seen that RUF? Have you seen that RUF?
I'm trying to think, 2017, was the Pista at the show?
Probably.
488 Spyro,
Probably.
I can't remember.
Probably.
There were some...
I think the Pista was there.
There was the GT3, the updated GT3.
New GT3,
because I remember talking to you about the GT3, the new manual Gen 2 991. I remember we were talking about that. But there were some like big hitting cars.
And there's obviously all the stuff like Koenigsegg's and whatever that you could see, like not necessarily just released, but like you're walking around this room and there's loads of stuff and just drawn to this little yellow thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty car, and I think it's kind of... Maybe people would expect it from RUF, but as a general like car enthusiast walking around that show and looking at all of the different cars, all of the different brands, then seeing this kind of really, I guess it's like retro
modern retro looking little yellow car, it's kind of like, oh, that's really pretty. And it's different. But so many people were coming onto stand saying, wow, what is this? You know, even though obviously it just looks like it.
And it sort of does that thing that like the right Porsches do, where it's like a good looking car that's not in your face, but then you look at it from like some angles, like from the back or whatever, and you go, no, it also means business. So.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, RUF cars are actually, the design is always quite tame in the sense that you might look at this Gambala and say, well, that's quite crazy looking, right?
There's a particularly crazy Gambala sitting behind us.
I guess the slant nose as well. But then there were slant nose 911s.
Yeah. So behind us, we have a RUF slant nose. What is this? Can you explain a little bit what it is?
Slant nose.
BTR slant nose.
So this is a RUF BTR slant nose. This is a Gambala Avalanche. This actually uses the same engine as the BTR. And then in the background, there's a CTR2, which is the successor to the yellow
bird,
the original CTR. And then there's the project car that we're working on, which you can also see on the website. And that talks a lot about the parts division and the kind of upgrades you can do, not yourself, but without spending a fortune.
Do lots of people go to RUF because they know, like, okay, really good engineering.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I've got a whatever, like, let's say my car, Gen 2 GT3 RS, and be like, it's really good, but actually, can we tweak some stuff?
Yeah.
And they would do like, you know, some suspension geometry changes or whatever.
Yeah.
Or less so now.
No, we still get it. Like, I have a lot of guys that will phone and they've just got a 3.8 Carrera S, you know, like a 997 Gen 1 or Gen 2. And they start asking the questions, you know, I've got 30,000 euros to spend. What can you do, or what can RUF do to my car? The thing is, like, I would say sometimes, like, just the cosmetic stuff is okay. If you just want the effect, if you just like, say, for example, the Speedline RUF wheels, because they're from an era where, okay, they were different to the traditional RUF Porsche turbo wheels or Carrera wheels on the cars, are giving the car a slightly different look. Then fine. They can obviously do basic engine upgrades as well to just natural aspirated stuff. I think it's easier for RUF if you've got a turbo-based car, because really that's
you can unleash
story. Yeah, is the turbocharging side of the business, which is where I think Alois really kind of found his niche. And I believe actually RUF launched a turboed Carrera before Porsche even launched the 911 turbo.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to fact check that. But I'm pretty sure they were the first people to turbocharge it.
I'll have to check this in this book.
You need to talk about
Mark's given me this book, which is by Mark, I don't know how you say it, Bongers. And it's Porsche and RUF sports cars, and it's like
it's
absolute
up
data.
To 2000 and I think mid 2000s, so 2005, 2006, Porsche and RUF.
It's
models.
like all the spec sheets for all the cars, and then a bit of information.
Yeah.
From what I can just quickly glean. So I'll update my Porsche geekery.
Bedtime reading. Actually, you can read, because you're going to Australia, aren't you? So
I am.
Take it.
I'll just take this with me.
Yeah.
And just read
that.
this. Just read that.
You won't need anything else.
Yeah. Sit on the beach
Actually,
and read that.
No, your GT3. See, like, your GT3 won't be in this.
Oh, no.
But your classic 911 will be.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah,
so
well.
maybe you'll find something.
I'll be interested to see what RUF products came out around the similar.
Yeah.
When did RUF start?
1939. The company goes back to 1939.
That is a long time.
Auto RUF. And again, it was an auto repair center. And the story really, in fact, I shouldn't be plugging somebody else's podcast, but if you listen to the Smoking Tire podcast.
With Matt Farrow?
Yeah. Alois was on there. Alois RUF was on there last August, I think. He went out to the States, I think, for Monterey week.
Yeah.
And he actually goes into detail about his father starting the business and how they happened to
find they saw this accident and they helped the guy and they fixed his car and then they ended up buying the car from the guy, and the whole kind of RUF story, the association with Porsche really then started.
Yeah.
But yeah, the company can trace its roots back to then. The tuning side of it started in the 70s with the original SCR, 78.
Yeah.
So again, that's why they had the new SCR at the show last year, because then that was 40 years of SCR. So a lot of people always think that the CTR was the first RUF, but it wasn't.
It was just the first popular one that everyone heard about.
It was the first one really that I think, again, as you said, with the fascination Nürburgring video, it was almost like the first form of the way something goes viral on social media now. It was almost like people trying to obtain this video cassette, VHS, because they wanted to see this car, this like mythical car that was kind of being driven around the Nürburgring by this guy in his slippers. Like,
there's something I slightly miss now about that. It's like, okay, I was not the sort of person that would be hunting around for VHSs of cars at the time, but the fact that it was like really tricky to get hold of, whereas now you're just like, oh, beep, beep, beep on my phone, you watch it and you're like, yeah, that was cool.
But everything is video. Easy now, isn't it? I mean, even when you think back to when we were kids, okay, there was Top Gear. There was one on Channel 5, Fifth Gear. There was obviously the Motor Impress anyway, so things like Autocar and whatever.
Yeah,
and I guess Evo started out around then as well. Maybe Evo's older than that. But that was the only way really we had access to finding out about these cars. But now I think with guys like Shmee, James, that you can kind of look on their channels and they go into so much depth. Even yourself, obviously. Sorry.
Yeah. Like not that much, but yeah.
Yeah, but I know that you've done it. For example, you really now become like immersed into the thing. It's going to be interesting to see where it kind of just goes next.
Yeah, because I think when it was just magazines and stuff like that, I wasn't like super nerdy into cars at that point in time. I think my sort of nerdiness started when I really started taking photos of them, and then I started distinguishing between models and generations and whatever. But up until that point, I would get some car magazines every now and then, and it was just like, it was like a stats game. Yeah. Like you knew all the stats of all the cars.
Yeah. Like Top Trumps.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
But then once you start seeing content with people living with cars or doing stuff interesting with them or whatever, you get so much more of a overall picture of an ownership, what an ownership experience might be like of these cars. Yeah, you're right. Rather than just, it's quick.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've grown up with maybe a dad or parents, that are into cars, or maybe even, family in general, and you've had access to something that is a bit special, or even if it was just like an M Division BMW or an RS Audi or something, it quite often is the kind of the gateway drug, into cars, is having that kind of experience, that one experience that then makes you think, one day when I grow up, I'm going to have one of those. Or I'm going to have that car. Or you have a poster on your wall. When you...
a very rare thing is I took my F40 out yesterday, and it's like
as you do
on the 9th of January, and one of my friends messaged me and was like, "Why didn't you tell me you were going to XYZ?" It's like, I just wanted to take the car out, go for a drive, stop off at some places and whatever. And I stopped at a petrol station, filled the car up. Obviously, like once a day you have to. And then the gauges don't really work. So you're never really sure when it's empty. When it's empty, it's actually got 50 litres left. Yeah. But I came out of the petrol station and there was two guys like standing around the car. Not to rob me.
King.
No.
They weren't that gang.
And one of the guys, I had a good chat with him, and one of the guys was like this is, that car that I've had on my wall I had on my wall as a kid and sort of thing. And those things really resonate with people. Like, if that car is the same for me, like, there's certain cars you see that generations now will, if you see it on the road, be awesome. And then he actually found me afterwards and sent me a message and was like, thanks very much. So that was awesome. And those moments really do stick.
Yeah, I think because, maybe we operate in a part of the market that most people don't have access to. And I guess it's a bit like if you're a kid and you love sweets and you work in a sweet shop, right? You kind of, after a while, you get a bit sick of sweets, or you just become a bit desensitized to the whole thing. And it's surprising, really, when sometimes people come here, or you finally, you find the car for somebody that they've always wanted, and you see that kind of they're almost like awestruck by seeing it, and it's theirs, or they've got access to it. Suddenly it's like, oh my God, this is real. And I think it's a bit like with the guys with your F40, it is one of those cars that, again, a lot of guys, our generation, and older as well, that always thought, wow, to have one of those would just be, like my life.
That was the thing, yeah. That's cool.
You're fortunate enough to have
one. No.
And it's blue, which is obviously super.
It's different. But it is those sorts of moments, like whether I now, as time goes on, start seeing, I've had some amazing driving experiences in stuff like not amazing cars. Yeah. Like things that, by all, when we're talking about these sorts of cars, just aren't that crazy.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I did a sort of handling experience type thing to try and improve my driving at Bruntingthorpe.
Cool.
And I was in an Mark III MX-5.
Okay.
And had an absolute whale of a time. Like,
it's a bit like the catering track days you can do at places like Brands Hatch.
Yeah.
They teach you so much, from a kind of basic rear-wheel drive, lightweight, stick shift.
Yeah.
And again, they don't have like massive engines. They don't have 300, 400, 500, 600 brake horsepower. It's more about learning basic car control, and the way you can really, learn these things. And then I think when you go up to that next level, say your RS, for example, you're not going to like smash it into a tree. I mean, you still might.
You might
because I think
likely,
people crash cars. Cars rarely sort of crash themselves unless they're Teslas or whatever that have gone AWOL. But it is always, 90% of the time down to the driver experience. And I think really it would be good if in the UK, maybe more people could do these advanced driving type of courses, where I think before they go and buy these types of cars, they had like a real tuition.
Yeah.
And
if you join, there's a couple of clubs you can join that you pay X amount a year, and you get 10 weekends driving their fleet of cars, or whatever, 5 days or whatever
like
it is.
Car hire clubs.
Yeah, where you sort of, they might have supercars, or I don't know whether this. I've never seen some that are in like pitched at that middle kind of like cool cars that aren't supercars type thing, which actually I'd be kind of keen for.
Maybe you should set that up.
It's not something I necessarily want to devote time to, but I would
buy fleet
get like a really bunch cool of like E46 M3, and
CSL.
just like CSL and all that sort of stuff. Just because I'd love to drive. There's places. There's that Car Club Manhattan, which you see in the States. It's like they've got all that sort of stuff, but I can't remember where I was going with this. Absolutely no idea.
No, but going back to people being able to maybe experience something that's not so kind of extreme.
So like the fact that now you can walk into a dealership, like you can walk into Ferrari, you can buy a 488 with nothing other than your normal license. It's not even like if you have a motorbike, you can't do that. You have to do like an advanced course or wait 2 years of driving. Like I tried to, in my sort of ownership experience, like slowly build up rear-wheel drive
and confidence,
horsepower and confidence and stuff like that before going crazy. But like you can walk into, if you've got the money, you can buy a heavily turbocharged, lightweight rear-wheel drive manual car.
Well, there was a lot of coverage, I think, in the media, especially in China, where they had issues where not just young, but wealthy individuals sort of buying these cars with like Bugattis and stuff and just binning them straight away because they had no idea. You know, they've gone from sort of nothing to then owning something which pretty much, you know, nobody gets to own anyway.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, I'm just going to put my foot to the floor and see what happens. Of course, you're pretty much going to die if you don't know what.
Yeah. And at least, you know, there's one benefit of modern cars is we have so much aids.
Driver aids, you mean?
Driver aids, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, driver aids, so that you can, they look after you.
Yeah,
but
and it is important.
I do think almost that flickering traction control light doesn't flicker anymore. Like when cars are doing stuff and they don't tell you they're doing the stuff, so a lot of people get to the point where they turn it off and then boom, they're gone.
Well, like the AMG Mercs, I mean, they're an interesting one actually, aren't they? Because a lot of the 63s and stuff, you know, even with all the traction systems on, you plant your foot to the floor and they're still spinning up, and just because they have so much power going through those rear wheels that they just can't put the power down.
Yeah, I think I watched a Chris Harris video the other day, and it was the Pista, so the new 488 Pista, and I mean, one of the things he was talking about was the slight almost pointlessness of cars like that, because they're kind of designed for the track, but they're too expensive to drive on the track. But he was saying we're sort of getting to the era now where power numbers are starting to get ludicrously over what tyres can handle. Yeah, so a bit true. Like sort of 40, 50 years ago where tyres were rubbish. And true. Like these cars, like the Yellowbird or whatever, just had so much more power than we had grip. We're getting to that again.
I think that is the main issue, isn't it? Is, okay, well, let's say you want to build a car and it's got 2,000 brake horsepower, which I'm sure is the next benchmark.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
really useful.
How do you translate that to actual output through the tarmac? And, you know, you got to remember as well, the rims themselves will spin in the tire.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many problems, which, again, funny enough, or interesting enough, I've spoken to Alois about this, because we quite often have people that say, hey, I've got a 997 turbo and I want 1,000 brake horsepower. And Alois just will say to me, we won't do it. You can do it, but we won't do it because it doesn't make sense. There's nowhere really you can, you know, unless you're on a drag strip where
with
you can
like
utilize
slicks,
the power, and then you've got to have the right tires, you've got to have the right temperature, you've got to have the right driver, because again, if it's a PDK or if it's a Porsche Tiptronic, you'll probably just blow up the gearbox.
Yeah.
If it's a manual, then you need someone that's going to be able to get
can really launch it.
Yeah, exactly. Because quite often people would say to us, what's the 0 to 60 on the new CTR? And again, I'll ask the factory and they will just say, how good are you at driving, Mark?
Yeah.
Kind of like, well,
and also, like, how much are you willing to lose a clutch? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that's another thing is okay, if you're Chris Harris or Stig or whoever that is, is like these guys and professional racing drivers, obviously, these guys are kind of honed to get 99% of the performance out of the car. But for most guys that are even fairly competent at driving performance cars, we're only going to see sort of 40, 50% of that, because you're probably then even going to be too scared to take your Pista that you've just spent £300,000 on to Silverstone.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking,
what if you're going to gravel? That's expensive.
And again, now as well, I think because a lot of people are buying these cars purely as investments or to try and put them on, these cars aren't going to see racetracks. They're not.
No.
You know, now they might as well just, you know, if you have the money, you might as well just join the Ferrari program. What's it called?
Corsa Cliente.
Corsa Cliente. And do these things, because then at least it's like, okay, well, I've got a car that I just take on the track, and I can be part of a racing series without damaging like my pride and joy at home.
Yeah.
Obviously, these cars are still expensive to fix if you crash them, which I'm sure a lot of these guys will tell you about. But that's not really an issue for them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not me doing it.
You're accepting that.
Yeah, exactly.
X costs. I keep flip-flopping like all the way through selling all my cars and just having like 2 cars. Like some sort of really comfy chilled out daily, and then a sports car that gets used for everything, like goes to the track.
When you say comfy chilled out daily, what would you have?
So at the moment, I'm driving a BMW 760 Li. I probably wouldn't buy that car.
No.
Not because it's not a good car, but because
you should pay full list price for that car.
but because it's like the extended long wheelbase. It's got the executive seats in the back. Like, if I had a driver, I would 100% look at those cars and see which one. But I've had it for a week, and it does the motorway and town like cruising really well.
Do you want to give it back?
I'm enjoying it. Like the only problem is I don't really have anywhere to park it.
Yeah, it's a big car.
And I don't have a space that it will fit in. It definitely, if I put it in my garage, I think half the car would still be outside on the street.
Does it have that smart key? You know, with the
yes. So I'll show you later. You can like reverse it. It will reverse itself.
You can kind of, but it will only go forwards and backwards, right? It won't.
So with the key. It has like a digital display on it.
Yeah.
There's two keys. So one looks like a normal key and one's this. And you unlock it and you can do a few things on the key, like turn on the ventilation in the car and sort of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then you can hold down this button and it will move itself forwards and backwards. It has sensors all around, like 360 degrees. So it won't actually drive into anything. I tested this by standing behind it rather than just trying to reverse it into a wall. But the time when this might be useful is you've parked in a parking space and someone's parked super close next to you.
Yeah, actually, no, because these cars are so wide.
Yeah.
And obviously the bays are not getting any wider.
The car's about as wide as the bay.
Actually, that's a good idea, isn't it?
And I have used it. Another time I was driving through this super narrow arch and I wasn't sure whether I was going to just like hit the wall. So I was like, okay, well actually I can just get out of the car.
You got out of the car?
Look from the front and was like, I'll just drive it forwards like through this gap.
What, you know, like when you go through places like Greenwich and they have the...
Yeah, it wasn't there, but it was like...
There's like a queue of traffic behind you, guys just saying like, mate...
It was in like a private parking area. Like, what are you doing? I'm just getting my phone out to reverse my car down the street.
But actually, that is a good idea, isn't it? I didn't think of that. Like that might be why. So yeah, of course, if you've got a garage maybe that's not big enough.
Yeah, so a big one is that if you've got a garage and you might not be able to get out, or for example... near me, you know, you've got parking bays up against a wall, and it makes sense to park driver's side away from the wall, so that you can get as close to the wall as possible. All those sorts of things where you just may not have room to open the doors.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually.
But yeah, I don't really know. I say this, and then I've in the last 2 weeks made an effort to drive.
Yeah.
Some of the cars, like so, went and drove the Ferrari.
That's freezing cold now.
I thought about selling it.
That was tea.
And I drove it. I took it out on 2 days, and I'm not selling it anytime soon. It's just it's a mega experience, and the turbocharging part of it really adds to the experience on the road. So I'm normally quite a naturally aspirated person, sort of. Well, generally, I breathe and stuff.
Well, it's the franticness, isn't it? You know, it's that kind of sudden it's like
but also with a naturally aspirated car, you've got to be really on it, like to feel the car being alive and whatever, because you don't get like a mid-range punch. Whereas if you've got a heavily turbocharged car, you get nothing, and then you get that boost, but it's only at like 3,000, 4,000 revs.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily like super on it, creating all the noise. It's just woof, and then you have tires spin up, all that hilarious stuff.
It's funny because last March or last February, actually, before I went to Geneva again, we tried to go to Pfaffenhausen to the factory to RUF to have like a pre-Geneva kind of briefing about well, this is what we're going to have there this year. These are the tech specs of the cars, so that. You know, we have that information, so we're kind of... Did you turn up at Geneva before and be like, oh... I didn't know about the CTR. I didn't know about the CTR. I knew about the SCR.
Yeah.
The CTR, they wanted to just keep it completely kind of like... Nobody knew it until I think the night before. Yeah. Which is brilliant.
I mean, useful if you have the information, but other than that...
Yeah, I mean, I was briefed pretty quickly when I got there. It was kind of like, okay, Mark, this is the car. This is kind of everything you need to know. This is the price. This is how many we're building. And they're pretty much all sold out by then anyway, by the time they'd sold me.
So how many have they Sold.
30 cars.
They're not doing like 30 manual, 30 automatic or anything like that.
30. All basically one drivetrain, so the same engine and gearbox. They looked at PDK. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe at some point they might build something like that has a PDK box. I'm sure they will, because there are a lot of people.
There are people that will buy it,
that ask for it. Especially, I think even we found for us customers in Asia or the Middle East that maybe not so much the Middle East, but in Asia that they kind of, if they live in somewhere like Hong Kong, where or even worse, Bangkok, where the traffic is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
They don't want a manual car.
No.
Even though they want that experience, they then say, I want to be able to just stick the thing in drive and just not worry about it, but still be in my 911 or whatever. But sorry, going back to what I was going to talk about before, Mr. RUF Alois took me out in the prototype CTR last February. And in fact, I said to him then that it reminded me of an F40 in the cabin. It was the noise. You know the noise, the spool you get from the turbos in the F40.
So they sort of engineer out on modern cars.
It's so raw. And again, you'll find in this car, eventually when you get to drive one, you'll have that same experience. Okay, I mean, in the prototype car, there's a lot of bare carbon, and maybe there's less sound deadening. But I'm pretty sure if you said to the team, I don't want all the stuff. They'd quite happily build it for you, but it would be like, you're going to probably need to wear earmuffs like the whole time, because it would just be so loud. Yeah. And it really was. I mean, the car was fantastic. It really was brilliant. But it's going to be interesting to see. We have a lot of people waiting for the SCR engine now to see, okay, when that's finally ready for show.
Yeah. So the SCR is the naturally aspirated version of the same car base.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. So it's the plan is, again, that it's kind of, it follows the same concept as a CTR, but it's non-turbocharged. They're not using Porsche parts anymore. I think Alois said the only thing it's the same is maybe the windscreen.
So they complete their own block and everything.
Yes.
Engine point of view.
Now it's a Mezger derived engine, but again it's RUF now saying we want to be. Yeah. It's not that obviously they have an issue with Porsche. It's just that the companies are going in massively different directions. Yeah. It's like Porsche, like Lamborghini with this Huracan Evo now. They're all, I feel, trying to keep up with companies like McLaren that are kind of so. Like McLaren are basically, the only thing they seem to care about is this kind of, okay, it must be, the cars are so digital. You know, they're not analog cars. They're not like, what I mean by that is, okay, it's a very different experience to driving a manual rear-wheel drive, naturally aspirated. Okay.
It's like the latest tech.
Yes, exactly.
What's available right now,
exactly,
in a car.
Exactly. It's more like, did you ever drive the Nissan GTR when it first came out? 2009.
I've been in one, but I haven't driven one.
Okay, well that was kind of the first car that I drove that genuinely thought this is like driving a computer game, if that makes sense. Which is again a bit like a McLaren in a way that's my experience really with that kind of car. Yeah. And now I'm sort of wondering if maybe Porsche with the 992, we'll see what the turbo is like.
Yeah.
McLaren,
the other turbo in the
McLaren, Lamborghini with the Huracan Evo. Again, I haven't actually studied the specs about
the Evo is it's the facelift of the Huracan.
Yeah, essentially, but they're calling it the Evo because they've changed the aero works of the car and blah blah blah. Yeah, okay, but I didn't study it too much.
Yeah,
again, because I feel that they're all moving away from this kind of purist thing, and it's just becoming really digital. Like a Lamborghini is a kind of raw.
It should be
machine.
Raw in your
that
face.
That noise you get with a Lambo, you don't really, they're so distinctive. And let's hope they don't start moving away from those V10s because they are fantastic. I mean, the noise they make.
That's why you buy that car. Like,
It is,
super aggressive looking. Huracan's a really good looking car, especially in the sort of the later, more tracky version type. And then the engine is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just that with something like a McLaren, and even I think the new Ferrari engines now, and even the base 911, they're losing the noise, the rawness.
Yeah, but it's that thing of people are starting to buy these cars to use. Well, yeah, most people that buy these cars use them to sort of not necessarily daily, but some people daily, but but to drive around in their daily business. And actually,
they want it to. They
want more refinement, and they want that luxury feeling. Yeah. So better sound deadening. You want the tech. Like if I was buying I don't think I would buy a super modern 911, like current, whatever the current thing's going to be, whatever. 992 GT3 or something. Are you sure? I would buy one.
Yeah.
I mean, I would buy one. but like, no, what I was about to say is, I don't think I would buy one and expect it to be the ultimate engaging, raw experience, because they're getting less engaged. Like, I was talking to someone about this yesterday.
Capable,
they're way more capable
as a machine, as a driving machine, as a tool.
On track, they are better cars, but almost like that 997. As you go older, they get more engaging.
Yeah.
But then it's where does that fit in your own psyche of what sort of amount of rawness?
I really like the 997 RS.
997.
Even the Gen 1s and Gen 2s, both. I just really like them. They're Mesger engines.
Yeah. They're just kind of, I think they're sort of that
right balance.
For me, that sort of right balance at the moment of like technology. You can still plug your phone in. You can still get sat nav. They're still refined enough. Yeah.
That PCM system's a bit.
Like it's okay in the Gen 2.
Actually in the Gen 2, it's not so bad.
If you have the current, whatever the latest PCM 3 or something. But yeah, I don't know. Cars are getting more. They're just getting better and everything.
They are more competent as a daily drive, but also the issues are going to arise. Okay, for example, your new 760 Li M Sport.
Yeah,
160,000 pound car.
143,000 pounds with options in it.
Okay, can you imagine what the hell that's going to be like when that's out of warranty, and how much it's going to be worth? Because when things start to go wrong on that...
But will they go wrong?
Yes. Well, they're not making these cars to last for 30 years, Sam.
Yeah, true.
They're not, because otherwise you just wouldn't buy a new car.
That is the thing, like trick suspension, all the computer stuff, when that starts to go wrong, like you might just have an alarm that just starts going off randomly, and there's nothing you can do other than completely rewire the car.
Your neighbours hate you. Set fire to your car.
But I mean, like cars that people buy for day-to-day like stuff.
Okay, well,
in 20 years, it's going to be like a nightmare.
I actually think what will become more interesting is, okay, so if you take Mercedes, for example, is you tend to find that obviously what technology they have in the S-Class finds its way down. Right down to the A-Class now. And I think maybe the smaller cars, like the city cars, is how much more user-friendly are they going to become? Like, are they going to be more reliable? Are they going to become more like smaller luxury cars? Obviously you have, like Aston tried it, I think, with the Signet, but they had to do that for some sort of emissions or whatever EU thing to get around.
I want more manufacturers to do that. Like
a luxury version.
To do the driving around in the 7 Series was a really nice experience. Now, if I could have that experience somehow, like a lot of that
in a Fiat
in my M2.
Okay. Like a button where you can maybe...
So for number one, if I could have the adaptive suspension that went from the level of like plush, obviously there's a lot more in it than just the suspension, but in my M2, and then you could ramp it up when you want. But just a small car that has the refinement of the bigger cars.
Yeah.
You have to buy the biggest, most ridiculous cars in the range to get the refinement.
Yeah.
But I want that in a small car.
Yeah.
But I think what we'll have is... in not too long, we'll just have these like driverless bubbles that you get in.
That would be.
And there would be no reason why not to have them
so crap.
like with just the utmost refinement.
I know what you mean. You mean
It depends where you are. If you're in a city, why do you need to drive?
It'd be better than getting a tube, right?
Yeah, and it'd be way better than getting an Uber.
I like Ubers.
No, I like Ubers, but like you're relying on a driver.
Yeah.
And I reckon, like, I've had good experience and I've had bad experience. If it was a computer, I would have uniform experience.
So you mean it's just, but then it almost doesn't become something you have to think about.
Yeah.
You just be on your phone, you just press a button and a pod pulls.
I would have like my pod or share it with like 5 of my friends or whatever. And I want to go somewhere, I press a button, it's been charging itself somewhere, parked cheap in underground, whatever. It will come, take me somewhere, go and park itself, and then come pick you up.
An iPod. You can call it an iPod. Because
you couldn't, obviously, that would be that'd be taken.
Maybe you should try and patent your idea and see where it goes in 100 years' time. But I think going back to what I was saying is sometimes now I feel that a lot of these. Okay, take the Senna for example. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's an extremely capable car. Like it really is. It's one of the fastest cars, or if not the fastest car you can buy at the moment. The design really is love-hate. You know, it's the first one. I mean, 720S.
I feel like it's more like hate, love.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like it's the first one. I mean, the 720S was also quite divisive because people were really unsure. In fact, 2016 was when the 720S was on the McLaren side.
Right, yeah.
And I remember we were talking about it. And again, with those kind of like eye socket headlights, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm not sure. Because they'd gone from the MP4 and the 650, which were fairly conservative.
Yeah,
they're almost
like very smooth kind of shapes.
And the P1, which
amazing looking.
I love the P1, yeah. It's still one of my favorite cars. To this kind of sort of space age looking stuff. And then the Senna, which I think for a lot of people was just like, what the hell? This is like, what have you done? Car. Yeah. It's like, and it really, obviously there were a lot of memes and stuff at the time, which I think we were all sending each other. But again, McLaren, their argument was, well, yeah, but this is the fastest car. And, you know.
Where is it the fastest car? Find me somewhere that is the fastest car. I mean, it's not faster than a rental on the road.
Okay, that is an argument for another day. But the point is, what about the design though? Because the design is such an emotional part of when you purchase a car. It's it's either
you look at it and go, like, I like it or I don't like it. You look at this one, someone liked it.
That's another Senna type. But actually, this car gets a lot of fan mail.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. We're pointing at the Gembala Avalanche thing.
But yeah, again, it's like the people when you're buying a car, what are the reasons you really want to buy a car? Now, let's say it's not your daily driver. It's not your car.
It's not a car you need.
Be bothered about leaving at the station. You're not gonna buy a McLaren Senna to do your morning commute. You're going to buy a McLaren Senna because it's your kind of like halo piece. It's your collectible. It's your ultimate toy. Now, if it was a choice between a Senna and a P1, I'd be just saying P1 because I can look at a P1 and say it's fantastic. To me, it's a great looking car. Now, it might be that out of 10 people, 3 people look at it and say it's bloody horrible.
Yeah,
I'd rather have a LaFerrari. Fine, LaFerrari is also a good looking car. So is the 918, but it is surely part of a buying process when you're looking at a car. So I can't understand McLaren's logic in saying, forget the design. Yeah. The design is only there to serve a purpose, and that is to make the car go faster. Well, is it?
And the thing is, like, really, generally over time, it seems like organic design based around nature and whatever.
Yeah, like Frank Stevenson, for example. He's like, another one that talks about.
Like, if you design around that ethos, generally the performance is pretty, like it's pretty good. Yeah. Obviously with aero, you're starting to get crazy ducts and waves. And if you look
at the Speedtail,
you look at like a modern F1 car, like they're mental. But surely you'd be like, right, this is vaguely, but how about we just make it look a little like just like nip and tuck a little bit. Like I think if the center was maybe shortened the nose a little bit, and I'm sure that the engineers would be like, well, that just wouldn't work.
The design,
so you can't see
I think
it.
Works better in black. Well, maybe, but I just feel that it kind of it hides a lot of the kind of awkward lines.
Yeah. Tim's car, so it's like a light blue and then
it's a special
dark blue carbon. Yeah. Actually, it's the best one I've seen.
Okay.
And I've seen a few different sort of spec ones.
But he's big into like custom spec, isn't he? Like he really does he not with his cars kind of think, okay, I want mine to be different.
I don't know. I think that color for him was like his first LT was that color, and that was a car that he really liked, and then he's gone back to that color scheme for this sort of thing. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's just a funny looking car, isn't it? Like, and for me, looking at a car is as much as driving it is a significant part of it. Like at the end of the day, when I park it, do you look back at it and go like, yeah?
Look, I'm not hating on McLaren.
No.
My dad says that I hate on McLaren. My dad is a massive McLaren fanboy. Okay? I'm somewhere in the middle. I think they make good cars.
Impartial.
They do make good cars. Like they make extremely capable cars. And they, I think the latest sales figures, their sales grew 43% again.
They've just done so well in such a short period of time.
Yeah. My point is just going back to this. Okay, well, what about the actual design of the car? It is part of the buying process. It is part of what makes us want to have that in our lives. Please stop, just thinking it's all about, making
it's all about the performance or whatever.
Make it look good, make it look good. Even if it's a second slower, nobody will care. Just make it look nice.
Yeah.
So you think, I really want that car.
So those kids that are looking at their performance specs of cars now and they've got a poster on their wall.
Yeah.
I don't see many people having a center on their wall.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, they might.
Maybe not.
But
maybe in some countries they might think it's a really good looking car because I guess
some people like it, so it's fine. Like, and I haven't ordered one, I haven't bought one, so.
Oh, really?
So like, no difference to. It doesn't make a difference.
But they're subjective, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, car design is subjective. You can look at anything and say that's horrible, but then your best friend might say, "I love it."
Yeah.
But that's the beauty with cars anyway. Is that we all have different tastes and we all have different reasons to like a car. Don't forget that when you're driving down the road, say for example you're on the M25, and most of the cars around you are just average cars.
Yeah, and they look the same.
Yeah, but that's because they're there just to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. We've all got to get from A to B, and especially if you don't want to use public transport and you need a car for whatever reason, then fine. But we still need these special cars that make you and I and
love cars.
Dream, and love cars and say, one day I'm going to own a P1 or I'm going to own, a whatever.
Yeah, or I'd love to drive X car on X track or down X road or whatever.
You have that kind of like dream, don't you, of maybe driving to Nürburgring and completing a lap yourself without dying or, whatever. But it is, we've all kind of, like I did the Amalfi Coast last summer.
Actually, stuck in traffic a lot?
Yeah. Kind of had that vision of thinking, I'll rent a Ferrari and do the Amalfi. But someone had said to me before, don't bother. Just drive it, but just do it.
Amazing scenery.
We had a 595 Abarth.
Yeah, that fits right in there.
Perfect. Yeah, it was actually brilliant. Like for that.
Did you see loads of old Fiat 500 as well?
Yeah, the really cool ones. Have you seen Chris's one? He's got it at the storage.
I knew that he'd.
So we got a friend that's bought one. Yeah,
he was on
blue with red.
He was a previous podcast. Runs for Mansory UK.
But he's bought one.
But,
I don't know if it runs.
Yeah, I think it's like a drunken eBay purchase or something.
How long it takes him to get that running? Because he said to me he's going to use it for commuting into London.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see Chris in that car.
We'll see.
Sorry, Chris.
Do you have so I'm presuming you're quite a Porsche nut. Well, not really. or yes?
This is a controversial point, isn't it? Because I would just say I'm a car guy. Like,
Okay, so you like good cars.
I do love Porsches, and I think especially now with the RUF tie-in for us, having a classic 911 as well, an SC, and getting back into that feel of driving a lot of these older cars, especially when we've had clients that say, "Can you go and get my 2.7 RS? Can you get this?" In fact, a friend of ours recently, Henry, his brother's got a 2.7 RS Recreation, and he asked me to drop it back to him in London. And it's not RUF modified, or it doesn't have any RUF upgrades, but just as a driving machine, I think the gearbox has been updated. There's a few bits and pieces, tweaks that his brother's made to the car, but it's such a great car to drive. It's so responsive and it's so fun. And you know as well, it's not, those classic 911s, they're not big cars.
No, they're tiny.
They're really not big cars. There's still enough room in the car and you still feel very comfortable.
There's like more room than in modern cars.
Right, exactly. But of course, we can't say, oh, let's just go back to that, because now, for safety reasons, the cars are much bigger. And again, it's like when you look at the 992, and I know there was that classic kind of image of they had an original 911 and a 991, and somebody had done like a size comparison. It was completely out of, I think someone had like
they
photoshopped it to make it completely ridiculous. But if you take a 991 from over there and you park it next to one of these early ones, it is a bigger car. It is a bigger car. And it's not a problem, but are these cars becoming more like GTs now rather than actual out and out sports cars?
And also, where, let's say you've got a sports car, whether it's an old 911, whatever car it is. If you live in the UK, the place you're going to drive it is probably in country lanes and small roads and stuff. And cars have got wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. And actually, like this 7 Series I'm driving at the moment, like you fill your side of the road pretty much. Like there's no lateral space. You have to basically be perfectly on the line, and then your wing mirror is like, I mean, that is
not a car you want to be going down.
Like you are not in. You can't. You have no play with like where you are in the. Like if I get in my old 911, like.
You can really feel
you've got another 50 centimeters of road that you can like weave about in, and like all gaps. You don't worry about gaps so much. Someone coming the other way, you're not so worried about it. Imagine if everyone was in cars that wide, how much space there would be on the road. You could drive a car down the middle.
I mean, in theory, it could. Oh, you mean if we were all in?
If we were all in like old cars again?
Weren't there? I mean, in
the
70s and 60s, they were people driving minis.
No, I know.
Like that. It must have been amazing.
Must have been great.
But I'm guessing life was quite different, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, lots of stuff changes. Lots of stuff changes.
You didn't have airbags for a start,
yeah.
So if you did crash,
I am very aware driving older stuff that yes, you might be having a whale of a time, but like when I had the Caterham, I had a Caterham 310R for a bit.
Awesome.
Which was mega fun. Yeah. Like the best thing about those cars, but also kind of the worst thing about those cars, I was talking about someone yesterday, is like they make you drive a bit like a hooligan. Like that inner demon comes out and you just like, you go around every roundabout twice and like all on it. But you're in something that weighs 500 kilos and like, there's not a lot of safety. If you hit a modern vehicle, you are so screwed.
It is, and it is something which I think you have to bear in mind when you are driving like the older Porsches and stuff as well, is that they are fantastically responsive, but not in the same way when it comes to stopping.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have that kind of. Obviously, if you had a new 911 and you crashed it, you're going to be upset. But you know, 9 times out of 10, you're walking out of there and you're totally fine.
Yeah, like you won't have broken a fingernail.
Yeah, if you're in a classic 911, I'm sure they were safe cars for the time. But compared to newer cars now, they're probably not.
I was talking to one of the mechanics when he was servicing my car. I can't remember how we talked about it, but it was something we talked about crashing, and he was like, "Yeah, if you crash in this car, you need to lift your legs towards you as you hit this object." And I suddenly was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, like the front of the car will like fold up through like where your legs are." Not I think you have to hit something really quite hard for that to happen, but the idea that like your leg space may not exist anymore. Driving modern cars, you're so protected in that sense, which is why it's it is nice having modern cars that tick a bit of that old school raw box.
Is the point of the RUF CTR and SCR and why the company is moving in that direction. And it is because there is still a market, a healthy market for enthusiasts that want to drive a real analog feel car, have that connection with the car, that you just really, as capable as the new stuff is, you don't get it. You know, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not as plug and play. You have to get in it, and it's actually an experience in itself, getting into the car, using more of an old school key, starting it up, rather than, okay, like the 760, you get in, keyless go, press a button, there's cameras everywhere, you know, the car almost drives itself. It's more, okay, this is an experience, like on a cold day. You've got to be aware, you know, like if it's icy, you've got to be really aware.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything to help you out. And I think that really is like a lot of what's missing today in the cars. And it's where RUF will continue to they'll continue to do well because they are tapping into that part of the market where they're catering for those guys that want something that still speaks to them on an emotional level, that you maybe don't get with the new stuff.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they're cool cars. Like 100%. Obviously, they're just pricey.
Well, yeah, but let me know when you want one.
But there are, you know, there's a lot of people that have ordered them, and you know, they're going to have.
It's always we really enjoy taking people or accompanying people to the factory because they don't know what to expect, and they get there and they kind of realize that, okay, well, this isn't a massive company like if you went to Stuttgart to Porsche or if you went to Goodwood to Rolls-Royce. This really is a team of, you know, talented individuals that are passionate about what they're doing. And there's some guys in there that have been in that business since the 70s or with the business since the 70s. And the expertise they have with classic 911s is second to none.
Yeah.
Just because that's all they know. And they don't want to go anywhere else. They're very happy there. That's for them, it's like they're living their dream life. And it, you know, when we take people there and they see it, they're pretty much sold on the idea anyway because they realize that they're buying into this. They're
buying into the whole.
It's historical.
Brand,
you know, it's special. It is special.
Let's talk about a company I've talked about loads. How does
Singer?
Has Singer come along?
Yep.
Relatively new company.
2008 was it started?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they're sort of, I'd say you're not selling that many cars at the moment. So actually, like, and 100 people buying Singers, it's not really going to...
They're exceptionally rare. And you're talking about companies like RUF that mainly only produce 30 new cars a year. It's not, you know, it's like Pagani. I don't know what Pagani's latest sales figures are. Or Koenigsegg, maybe the same again. Is when you're building into tens, you don't really see a lot of these cars. So for us to have 3 or 4 here is quite kind of rare and unique because then you sort of think, oh, wow, okay. And then there's more that come and go. But yeah, Singer, fantastic cars. They make beautiful cars. They really, really are stunning.
They look amazing.
And the new car, I mean, I like it. A lot of people have said to me they like it, but it's a bit hot rodish, you know?
Yeah.
The interior is just...
mega.
Yeah, it is amazing. And the difference, I think, between Singer and RUF, and I understand Singer's reasoning for the Williams tie-in, is because... And again, no disrespect to them, but you see, RUF are a manufacturer and an
engineering firm.
They're an engineering firm, which is quite different to cosmetic modifications. And I think, well, Chris Harris posted the new car, the prototype car.
Yeah, the DLS.
The DLS, sorry, the other day on Instagram. And I noticed it's got an F plate, so it's an 88, 89.
Okay, yeah.
Now, when I spoke to the team at Goodwood last year, 2018, I asked him, what's the chassis on the car? And they said it's a 964. And that kind of surprised me because I think the car is $2 million.
Yeah. Near as much.
Yeah. I mean, now, for example, if you want a fast 964, RUF will build you an RCT Evo, which is a true performance-based 964. And that will probably cost you 350,000 euros. Now, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying 350, it's cheap, but then compared to maybe the Singer it is, but
the
again,
normal like a normal Singer, the non-DLS, they're not a ton, they're more like 400,000-500,000 euros.
I think they're a bit more.
It depends on what country you're buying it into.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Because of the tax and whatever.
I think in the UK you're looking at.
I don't know what the UK
450,000-500,000 pounds.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not like it's a lot of money, but it's not a million, and it's not more than that. But yeah, the thing when I look at the two cars, the main, not the main difference because you're not breaking down, but my bugbear with the roofs that I've seen is the interior.
Yeah.
It like when you've got to the point with the new cars, and I know that they're very new now, so I'm guessing there's tons of ongoing development over. But you look in the interior, and to me, it doesn't look like it. No. £1 million car.
No, and I do understand where you're coming from. Again, it's subjective because a lot of people like the classic interiors.
Yeah.
And for them, it's more about the driving experience than the visuals. Kind of negates my point on the McLaren, I guess. But I mean, from just an aesthetics, like, okay, this has got some fancy woven
materials
tweed,
or whatever. Yeah.
Dash, which it's all great and it looks fantastic. And I mean, their cars are stunning. They are stunning. But they do, although they both are related to and based on classic Porsches, they do serve different types of buyers.
Yeah.
Because you have the driving enthusiasts, the guys that are really kind of like focused on performance that tend to buy the RUF stuff. And then you have the guys that are more into the guys that are more into the types of guys that collect art, for example, that are into Singers because they like the automotive art side of Singers. Does that make sense?
I think there's both.
Okay.
In both types of buyers for both cars.
Okay.
I think I know some people that have got Singers that are like through and through car nut type people. And I'm sure like it works all the way around.
Yeah.
My sister is calling me. Thanks.
Is it important?
No. Yeah, I'll just like stop everything. Sorry. On the iPhone, there's no way of like getting rid of the call without.
No, you just press this. You just press remind me or message. And how long have you had an iPhone? Yeah, just when I leave. And it will just remind you.
Oh. Yeah.
Is that your first iPhone?
No. It's like iPhone like number 8 or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I normally just answer the phone.
No, so now when you leave here, it will remind you that she
remind me that she called me.
Again, I'm not.
I don't know what. Anyway.
No.
Basically.
They are beautiful cars. And
I thought we were going to have this problem.
Sam's got a problem with his mic.
We're just working on it. But no, yeah, I just thought what your thoughts were on the brand. Obviously, it's.
I love it.
So many sort of port races.
Yeah, I love it. I think the cars are beautiful. They seem like good guys. I like what they're doing. I think it's cool that they got Chris Harris involved with the engineer, the kind of development of the car. I think it's a good.
We need to see
brand ambassador.
We need to see more Larry RUF videos.
Okay.
I think I haven't seen a.
You mean
CTR
like
30
or like a? What about like a new fascination?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Like that.
Well,
I want that.
Stay tuned, maybe.
Presumably that question has been asked like a million times. Like, so you remade this car that was famous for making this video. When are you making the video?
Well, I'll let you think about what may or may not happen in the near future.
The SCR.
Yeah.
Have they said what engine is? Do we know what engine is going to be in that car?
In the prototype SCR, from 2016. It gets quite confusing because there was a prototype called the SCR 4.2, and that's the one I was talking about with the slightly different wheelbase.
Yeah.
That car, that had the 4.2 that RUF have used in the 991, quite a few different variants of naturally aspirated engine. And I think in this, it's going to be a 4 litre. I think it's slightly smaller.
Yeah.
Again, I'd have to fact check.
So I'm just
because sometimes again, as they're developing things, they change things in house. There's no need to notify us because it's not like
not a product
we've physically got a car here yet. So it's more okay. Well, if anybody asks, we need to let them know. People that have deposited, they will be in constant communication with the factory anyway. So if anybody's got any questions, they'll just email the team, the technical team at RUF, and they can let them know what's being changed or what's being added to the new SCR.
So how much do those cars? Presume does the how much is that car going to weigh roughly? Do you know for the SCR how much that weighs?
I think it's 1,100 kilos on the SCR, and I think the CTR
is that without with or without fluids and things?
Without. Yeah. It's safer to say that, because then worst case.
Yeah. So presumably this 4 litre ish naturally aspirated engine will be around 500 and a little bit of horsepower, maybe.
In fact, I think it's in here. So, that is going to be 500 horsepower. And let's have a look. So it's this green car in here. People can see this on camera. This is the CTR from 2017. But the SCR, here we go. 4 litre. And it doesn't give the brake horsepower. 510.
510.
Yeah, 510. So 6-speed manual again, rear wheel drive. Actually 1250 kilograms. So it's 100 heavier than the CTR, the new CTR.
Why is it heavier?
Bigger engine? Because that's the 3.6. But don't quote me. But it's too late, right?
It's missing some turbos. It should be lighter. But then bigger bore engine.
Yeah, it's a bigger engine. It's a bigger engine. Yeah. So the idea is that you have two quite different driving experiences. CTR is strictly limited anyway. SCR
is not.
No, there's no cap on build numbers. So the idea is that production will maybe run for like 4 or 5 years. And if you said they could only build 15 a year, that gives you an idea of the kind of final numbers. So there will never be a mass market, thousands, like you might get with a Pista, for example, where they're saying, okay, there's going to be 1,800 coupes and 500 Apertas. These cars are produced in an extremely low
super rare.
Yeah, so they're not going to be the kind of cars you see passing you.
Yeah, if one of those drove past me on the street,
take a photo.
I would lose my mind.
Send it to me, please.
Do we know have we got any coming to the UK so far?
Yeah, there are 3 people or 4 people even that have deposited on their SCR, and there are 2 CTRs coming to the UK.
Sweet.
So yeah,
are they just sort of things, the sort of people that we may see them? Well, not sure.
I can't really say. I mean, because you don't know what
they're going to do.
People will want to do when they've got the car. Some people now, I think, again, with the values of these things, some people just say, you know what, I'll take it down the road, I'll bring it home, and I'll just put it in my dry storage for 10 years and hope that it's worth twice as much or 3 or 4 times as much. Yeah. So it's hard to tell. But I mean, okay, RUF, for example, as a manufacturer, they like to engage with the owners, and every year they do a track day or a drive, try and get people involved. Also, they're always interested in hearing from people that are interested in the brand, that may be interested in buying a car, that want to come along. So you could bring your Porsche, for example, your RS. And that's always a good way to meet other RUF owners and enthusiasts that can share with you their stories and experiences and maybe why they chose this model over something else.
Yeah, because like so many of the cars are like customized for like a specific person.
Correct. Yeah.
Their sort of suit.
And in fact, it's always the hardest part of selling a used car, in the way that this car was probably specified for somebody in a way that it's not that it wouldn't be to everybody's taste. It might just be that, for example, the yellow RTR that we've got, the amount of people that said, you know what, I'd love to buy that car, but it's got to be black, you know, and or what about red? And then you say, okay, well, we change the colour. Yeah. Oh, no, but then it's not original paint. Okay, well,
so what?
Wrap it then. You know,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't want to wrap it because then it's not paint.
You can now spray colour.
Yeah. In fact, I was with a guy from the Philippines on the weekend, and he's a dealer out there, not for RUF or anything. He's just a luxury dealer, and he was telling me that in the Philippines they call it foil, and it is a spray kind of thing that you spray onto the car, and it has the depth.
Yeah, it looks like paint.
Yeah, which I think it's a cool thing, really. It'll be interesting to see where that
and
goes.
I think particularly useful on sort of historically significant cars, or something where you don't want to change, like a modern car, and you're like, well, if I want to change colour, you could just respray it.
But you know, when you wrap a car and you remove the wrap, because that can damage the lacquer and the paint.
It can do.
Do you think that, depending on how this sets onto the lacquer, this new stuff, could it not be the same thing? I don't know if the sun's kind of cooked it for too long.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do not know the answer. I know you can peel it off with your fingers. Like it does just come off.
Yeah, I'm interested to see it. I am interested because this guy that I was with, he said it's becoming really popular there. And I'm sure even like the guys at Topaz that you had on the last podcast, I'm sure that it's something that they're looking at doing as well, because it's obviously it's probably the future now, isn't it, of changing your colour of your car.
Depends how expensive it is, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really something that I get asked for or that we've ever been into. I know that there's lots of guys like Topaz and Yanimais and whatever that do all this stuff. We know obviously who they are, but we just don't. We find that with the type of customers that we have, we just don't have any need for it.
Do most people PPF stuff now?
No. So if they've just had a conversion, or I'm guessing the guys that buy these CTRs and SCRs, yes, they'll be doing it, because a lot of these guys as well, don't get me wrong, they like to drive the cars and they drive them hard. So they are the kind of guys that I would assume they would be thinking, you know what, now I'm going to start putting paint protection on this stuff, because it does make sense when you're spending $750,000 on a car. Even to be fair, if it's $100,000, it's still a lot of money, you know, and to paint it, and the questions we get asked, is it original paint? Is it, you know, used cars? Yeah,
you're like, that car's done 50,000 miles and there's no paint chips on it. You know? Either it's been PPF'd its entire life or it's been repainted.
Yeah. So now we know at least, okay, if it's got a PPF film in it, even if you look at a car and the PPF film is kind of tired, it's done a job of protecting
it's protected
the paint
from the damage. I guess one of those questions that people ask, and when you've just come out with something new, is people are like, well, what do we know what's next? What's further down the line?
Yes.
Or
I do.
You do, but you're not allowed to say.
I do.
I'm guessing more evolutions of this platform I think has been built.
I think you'll see this year at Geneva what the plan is. Obviously, the long-term plan is in the new carbon tub. RUF are aware that they don't want to just take the same car back, because, as you know, I mean, I think Chris Murphy mentioned previously that the expense to actually have a stand at Geneva now is like it's crazy. It's insane. So I think for them, there will be something different there this year.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, just stay tuned really, and keep an eye on the social media, keep an eye on our Instagram and stuff, and theirs also, which you can put the little tags in on the video.
Ding.
For anybody that's listening, ours is on Instagram is just at RUF Automobile UK, and RUF head office or factory is RUF since 1939. So RUF SANCE 1939.
As I thought I'd also discuss at some point some like news items of what's recent. Now one of them we have actually. I just had a quick trawl. It was the new Lambo.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, it's an updated Hurricane. It's got a little bit more power, some slight changes, interiors. I mean,
because it has like a touchscreen, doesn't it? I looked at the photographs of the car. I thought, okay, cool. I like the wheels.
Yeah. I haven't actually looked at the interior. I don't think I've seen a picture of the interior.
It's like same, but with a touchscreen.
It's a little bit of a facelift of the current Hurricane. I think some people thought it might be the sort of like Superleggera type version, but it's the facelifted Hurricane.
Because it's got like a lip spoiler built into the back, but I think it's part of this new Lamborghini.
It looks more like an R8 than it used to. If you look at the front, if you look at the front bumper on the new Evo, and you look at the current R8, they look. I mean, the cars look very different if you look at them overall, but the front is now very similar.
The same car underneath, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, basically the same, different tuning, different body kit.
It's an interesting conundrum, that, isn't it? Do you buy an R8 or do you just buy a used Hurricane? Because then I don't think I'm buying either. No, but let's say hypothetically you had to choose a new R8 or a used Hurricane.
I think I would rather have a Hurricane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Lamborghini, right?
Yeah, it's a Lamborghini. I mean, they're essentially very similar. The R8 is a very good car.
Yeah.
Also,
so any friends that have got R8s, sorry, I'm not knocking your car.
Like we were saying, people choose their cars for their own reasons. Like, that's totally, that's fine, isn't it? Like, it's their own life.
Yeah.
Another car that came out recently is the Cayman Gt4 Club Sport, which is the track GT4 race car.
Yeah.
And it has a flat six in it.
3.8.
Which is making people speculate that the new Cayman Gt4, which shouldn't be that long away, we've sort of expected it to be coming, whether it's a GT4 RS or GT, probably Geneva, may have a flat six. Now, I've got my name down for the GT4, the new car. If it comes with a 4-pot, will you pull your...
If it's a 4 litre, I want it.
No. A 4-pot.
No, I don't want it.
Yeah. That's kind of how most people feel. Like, or people I've spoken to. I would love it to have the 6 just because of the noise and the driving experience.
I think it will. And I actually heard that the reason the Club Sport using the 3.8 is because they're looking to finish that run of engines. Right. And then the 4 litre will be in the GT4. But interestingly, quite a few people are saying there will be an RS version of the GT4.
I think they should do a GT4 RS.
I think it would be quite cool, wouldn't it? It would be to have that kind of super hardcore version, but then are you kind of alienating GT3 owners? Oh, no, I guess not, because it is a different car.
They're not gonna put the same engine in it, like as in the same engine.
Yeah.
I think what the previous GT4 had, which was like the 911 engine, didn't have that GT fizz that the GT cars have. And I don't think we'll necessarily get that. But a 420 horsepower flat six in a Cayman would be great.
Do you think it will be like 420 or do you think they'll push it a bit more?
I think it'll be about 420.
Yeah.
Previous car was 370. I think 450 starts to really get to
it's too much.
Your performance numbers. But depending on what, they might put a turbo 6 in it. No. Then you can remap it and it'll be 580 horsepower.
Yeah. I see. It's interesting because RUF, they've put the 3.8 in the Cayman and Boxster for a long time. And they haven't actually, in the latest generation, the new turbocharged cars, they haven't bothered. I think because the demand now is not there so much because of the GT4 with the 3.8 and whatever, and the Boxster Spider. as well. That kind of Porsche they have that
They owned it.
niche now. Because I think the demand for those cars is not so great anyway, because most people that want Porsche want a 911.
Yeah.
So staying in that kind of 911 kind of market makes sense.
And if you're going to spend, quite a lot of money, you possibly don't want the lower down model.
Yeah.
Unless it was like a crazy GT4 type thing.
But I love the GT4, but you're not that sold, are you?
Oh no, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's just the engine just doesn't quite have the fizz.
Yeah.
But I do like it's a great car.
Yeah, I wish I'd bought the first gen, to be honest, because Porsche East London at the time, they offered us one, cancelled order, and said, "Look, do you want this?" And I was like, nah, I don't want that. Rubbish. Actually, it's really good.
It's just a really good car. Just a really good car, and priced really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's true. They are priced well. When you look at the market as a whole, I think they're not.
And if you looked at pricing of like a Cayman GTS, spec'd up, the GT4 was like the same, or it was the same, and it's way more special.
Yeah, I had to look recently because somebody asked us for a Cayman GTS, new factory order, and they wanted guards red, fully spec thing. And I'm sure it came to like 83 grand.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was just like, well, what? Wait a minute. I think the base price of the car was 56 or 58 or something, including VAT. And of course, being a Porsche, it doesn't come with anything. So you've got to start adding
spec
things
the
like
doors.
leather or seats. But yeah, when you start thinking, wait a minute, sort of 25,000 pounds worth of extras, not sure. Because that, 80 grand, buy a used 911.
Yeah, it's that thing of like certain models come out. Like the GTS is actually a good one because it comes with a bunch of the stuff.
It does. You're right.
So you're elevating that base price of the car to a higher level.
Yeah.
So that when you look at resale, it's not like it was a £40,000 car with £20,000 of options on it. It's a £50,000 car with £10,000 of options on it or whatever. So you're less likely to take a serious hit.
The GTS models, they're usually good looking as well.
Yeah,
they have nice wheels.
They're quite a good
they're
part of the range. That like
good
Cayman
balance between
GTS,
GT and
911 GTS. I drove one of the 991.2 GTS 911. It was a really good car. I think for people that use those sorts of cars like every day, that is like a really unless you sort of want to go GT.
Yeah.
But GT is much more hardcore in terms of like daily.
Yeah, obviously you have a lot more people now using things like GT3s as dailies. I think the thing is, of course, if you live in somewhere like London and you're doing 3 miles a day, it's kind of okay because you're keeping the mileage down.
Yeah.
But then if you live maybe out here and you're driving into London every day and you're doing 25, 30 miles there and back, this is when those guys start to get nervous and they're thinking,
But do you think the difference between, do you think a GT3 is going to lose more as a percentage than a normal, like a C2S over the same mileage?
No.
No way.
No, you're right.
But it won't be as comfy.
Yeah, it'll be arguably more fun, especially in the summer.
It will be more fun.
The spring and the summer and the autumn.
If your commute is remotely interesting.
Yeah, if it's just M25, then probably not. Just
you want a PDK, whatever.
Diesel Golf, and then just because that makes sense, Yeah. I think if you're doing those kind of mileages, but each to their own. We need people to buy these cars and do stupid things.
Exactly, and you need people to buy all the models of a range, so that you can buy them secondhand. Further down the line, because.
Although it would be nice to be on the Porsche VIP list so that you get...
But is there an official Porsche VIP list? It's basically like, how friendly are you with your dealer? Any dealers out there? I'm quite friendly.
Guess you've got to be careful what you say, but I'll let you think about it. But you know what it's like. You probably... I know I tried for you, to introduce you and say, can you help Sam?
It's the process, isn't it?
Yeah. And they say, sure, if you buy a Panamera and you buy this and you buy this. And You don't want any of those cars.
So that was something the Topaz guys were saying. For those that haven't listened to that podcast, I heard that. I went to Topaz PPF detailing company. Anyway, the owners are mad, like Porsche guys, and they wanted the GT cars. So they bought, like they've had, I don't know, like 5 Cayennes and like 4 Panameras and like they've bought a lot of the sort of run of the mill range cars to get their allocation. And I
think it's fair enough as well. If you've got kids and a family, it's like, sure, I'll buy a Cayenne or a Macan or whatever. You know, it makes sense.
But they said to me, they're like, we've actually decided we're going to stop doing it.
Right. Okay.
Because they're like, I would rather buy, it's cheaper to just buy the car over list.
True. Actually, yeah, because of the money you're going to lose.
Because you lose so much on like a new car every like year or whatever.
So if I can get one at list and sell it for a premium, you got a guy for.
But yeah, it's and like what you're saying about, if I had a full, like, you know, 2 kids, and maybe I would 100% look at like a Macan or
would you just buy a Range Rover?
I don't want to get nicked.
Yeah, actually, that's happened to quite a few people we know.
Like a lot of people.
Wow, yeah.
They go missing.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It is a shame because they're good cars.
Yeah. That's really bad, isn't it? That was happening. And it was kind of it's just part of buying the car. Like, is it?
Yeah, and then like stolen? You have to have a wheel lock.
Yeah, which is
like stipulated
really
by insurance.
1980s.
Like, I'm sorry.
It's not a Golf GTI.
No, I've got an electronic key that locks it. Thank you very much.
Exactly. I think the BMW have an issue with the hacking.
Yes, if you've got keyless, it's a bit of a problem.
That's been a thing for like 10 years, I think, with them.
Yeah.
But the Land Rover stuff is, I'm sure they're addressing it now. I'm sure the later stuff, but there's definitely a generation of cars where it's
where like they've probably got to the point now where, you know, they've gone from 64-bit encryption to, or like the equivalent of dial-up to broadband,
basically,
where it becomes very, very, very difficult. But yeah, I mean, the problem is there's a bunch of geeks who spend all their time just trying to break through this stuff.
Well, I think it's is that dying?
Oh yeah, we just had a camera die over there.
It's probably because it's big business as well for a lot of these criminal gangs. Countries, I think a lot of the cars go to places like Africa, or continents like Africa, rather. Yeah. Countries within Africa. You
start driving around the world and you see a lot of like some UK reg cars, and you're like,
cool.
Interesting.
Was that my dad's car? Was that my friend's car?
No, and that's the replacement that we got a week later that then got...
Let me just check the VIN number. Yeah, it's sadly, people always steal these cars anyway. So you've got to be super careful. Careful. Trackers are like a must-have now, aren't they? So
yeah,
you just have to have it. And that's why like Ferrari, Porsche, whatever, they've got their own tracking systems like PTS and whatever that they pretty much say, you got to have it. Like it's a non-negotiable now, isn't it? And I think the insurance companies as well saying, does it have a tracker?
I think also insurance companies should, I don't feel like insurance has got cheaper.
No, they should
when
provide
security has got better.
Yeah.
And yeah, they should either provide a tracker or you get a discounted tracker through them or something.
There is there's
deals.
Some guys that we met early last year. I think it's which is the London Motor Show, the one they do at Excel. Classic and something. It's in February.
Something like that, yeah.
There's some guys that exhibit there and they do trackers for classic cars, like your Porsche, for example. And I think we've got a tie-in with them. I think their details might be on our website. But they're very reasonable, the costs of these trackers, and they're designed for classic cars. And in I think most instances that people have had them fitted, it does reduce their premium.
Yeah.
Just because the chance of getting the car.
Because I would always ask that question. If someone's like, do you have a tracker?
Yeah.
I'd be like, does it put my premium down? And if it doesn't, I'm probably not getting it.
True. Yeah. True.
Like I might do.
Because of the expense.
Because of the expense and like the monthly cost and whatever. Yeah. Now I now have an app on my phone that shows where cars are.
Everyone's cars?
Just everyone's cars.
Okay.
It's really great.
What do you mean? What is this app?
I'll show you. Like if you... What's it called? Like it came through. It's like it's attached to the trackers in like my BMW, for example.
Okay.
And I can just look on like equivalent of like a Google Maps, and it will show you where the car is.
But everybody's cars.
Obviously, just my cars.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, there'd be a privacy issue.
There would. That would be. Well, I started up my BMW the other day, and someone else's.
Which one? Because you've got loads of BMWs now. So.
Okay, so it wasn't the 760. It was my M2.
All right.
And someone's phone conversation that they were having in their car dialed into my car for like half a second. As in, like, I could hear a woman talking to someone else like straight away, and then you're looking around the car park, being like, "There's a woman over there having a conversation."
Yeah.
Why has that suddenly coming through my speakers?
Definitely.
Absolutely
Quite often, if your
nuts.
car's outside and the Bluetooth is live on your phone, then your phone will just connect to the car. You're like, what?
But someone else's car.
Well, that's it's kind of awkward.
Yeah,
Especially
weird.
having quite a private conversation.
Yeah, or like you're chatting to someone at home, and then someone turns on a Bluetooth speaker in your house.
Yeah.
And it like automatically
Exactly,
connects. Bit of a faff. So I normally sort of wrap up these podcasts by asking the guests 5 questions.
Right.
And maybe 6. But
Yep.
you ready?
Are they like quick fire?
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like bang.
Do I provide the answers really quick, or can I take my time to think?
You can take your time.
Okay.
So first question.
Yep.
Do you have a most memorable driving trip, journey, stint that you've done?
I do. It was 2008. My
that one down.
first trip to Nürburgring.
All right.
And my partner at the time, she'd just bought a Clio 197 Cup, which obviously it's nothing special, but at the time was just such an amazing car to drive. In fact, they were engineered by Williams. I think they had something to do it. And we took this car to Nürburgring, but we actually drove, I think it was like 2,000 miles. We did like a trip of Europe.
All right.
For 10 days. And it's always something I thought I'd love to do that again. And having that kind of feeling of thinking, okay, where are we staying tonight? Well, we don't know. But it was in the early days of kind of being able to go on, not TripAdvisor, but late rooms or whatever, on your phone, on your smartphone, and just kind of booking a hotel on the day. So, okay, well, we're going to be driving through Italy. Let's
find one.
Look on a map or Google Maps and choose a place. And yeah, I'd say that was my most memorable like driving experience, because it almost became like it was, I guess, a driving holiday, which I never thought I'd do, but was just fun, and I'd do it again. Fun. Yeah, I'd do it again. Not with you, but maybe with
with someone else.
Hot girl.
Okay, 5-car garage, unlimited value. It has to slip into your sort of current life.
Okay.
Ish.
Well, I don't have kids or a family yet.
Yeah.
So I don't really need anything that practical, but I do think if you're going to have an SUV, Range Rover.
So you're going to have an SUV?
Yeah. Just because, because they plenty of friends have got them and stuff, and they're always just such a nice experience. You know, they're very like calm.
They are very calming.
You know, when you're driving a Range Rover, it's kind of like you're driving an armchair, or a sofa. It's an armchair if you're on your own, but obviously it's a sofa
and like
with friends.
The high up vision and all that stuff.
It's like you don't feel the need to kind of to push the car at all. You're just kind of wafting along. So probably a Range Rover, something small for cities and pop into shops, I guess.
What would that be?
So I'm not a big fan of the latest Minis. I just feel they look a bit beaky at the front. They've got like a big nose, like a beak.
Yeah.
But we've got an Abarth that we use, a 595 as well, as like a station car and whatever. And it's so much fun. Like it really is. So again, I'd probably have one of those, but like a I think it's the Turismo with the leather and stuff.
It's
only like 160 brake, but you get so much kind of fun for your money, and you can park it at the station car park, and it's 16 grand. It's not 50, and you're thinking, oh God, you know, someone's going to key it or steal it or whatever. I mean, that can still happen, but it's not as ultimately it's a Fiat. You know, it's not kind of like my Porsche or whatever.
So that's 2. 3 more slots.
Something crazy.
Something batshit.
Something crazy. Something from Pagani or Koenigsegg, I think. Just cause, you know?
Yeah. So which one what would you have?
Zonda. Like a Cinque or something. You know, a really collectible.
That sort of like middle.
Yeah. Just
point.
Just a special car, really, that you're never really going to drive. It's just kind of there, just to look at.
Just to look at.
To say,
a couple of 100 miles a year or whatever. 2 more slots.
I've got to choose one more, obviously, before the obvious. I guess really.
So would you have like a track toy, something like that, or a classic, or?
You know, I'm not really into the whole track thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see the point of it, but I'm not really. Yeah. I'm just not fast.
Or a race car.
We used to live when I was younger. We used to live very close to Brands Hatch, and we used to do Elise track days and Caterham track days, and they were fantastic fun. But always being able to just kind of hand the keys back and leave the car there in an absolute mess after was a really nice thing. So you just paid your whatever it was at the time, a few £100. Have your driver training, you know, feel like you were able to push these cars to the limit, and not have to worry about them. So I'm not sure I would have a track toy, but if I did, maybe that 911 RSR. You know, I love the look of that. And I always thought, how cool would it be to have one of those and turn it into a road car? It'd be completely impractical.
It would be completely impractical.
But why not?
Yeah. I mean, why not?
It would be that or maybe something Ferrari or Lamborghini related just cause, you know, like maybe a Murcielago SV. I like that car.
Yeah.
I really like the Murcielago SV.
Really cool.
Just the noise and it kind of... Murcielago is a good looking car and it's the last of the sort of the true Lamborghini Audi crossover. But the SV is a special car and they only ended up making 186, I think, out of a prospective 280 or 300. So they're quite collectible. So yeah, okay. 4th car would be a Mercy SV and then my 5th would be a RUF CTR2. There you go, 5 cars.
CTR2.
CTR2. It's just my favorite.
Like
yeah, it's just my favorite because I've always loved the 993.
Yeah.
And the 993 Turbo in particular.
So that's based on a 993.
It is a 993 chassis, and effectively that is the ultimate 993. So yeah, it would be that car. Maybe not. I mean, that is a lovely example, but maybe not that exact car.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was one that they made in red that I just saw that car and said,
roughly how many of those cars are there?
30. And then I think they did 10 sport, CTR2 sport versions, which are based on they're like a wider body Pikes Peak hill climb car. Steve Bedell had one, and I think his car is going to be in the Art Curial or Paris auction in February or March this year. So it'd be interesting to see anyway what kind of money that goes for.
Cool.
Any more questions?
There are.
Oh, God. All right.
Okay. If you could drive one car for the rest of your life, and it can be any value. Oh, and there was this...
The same car?
You got one car.
Crashed it. Can I change it for a different one?
Yeah,
so I could just crash it and then just get a different car, like written off.
Yeah.
So then
every 5 years.
Technically, I could change my car.
And you're allowed like a £500 beta to put kids in or whatever. Like
okay, fine. So I have to have one car for the rest of my life, and it's not £500. It's
unlimited value.
Oh, okay. Then it kind of goes back to that. It's got to cover every base.
Yeah.
What about an RS6?
RS6, very good. I mean, they're good cars.
Yeah, I know they stopped making them now, and there'll be another new version.
Coming,
but maybe not.
I'd have a sporty type car.
I'd just have a 911.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Sorry, I mean a 911. Just a 911. Why not?
Any particular 911?
I want to say 993, but yeah, 993. Just 993. A Carrera 2S or a 4S. So one of the final editions. Is that dead as well now?
Like, hang on one sec. I'm just going to go and try and
Okay.
turn this GoPro back on. Apologies to our video people.
Is this one working or is this one dead as well?
They run out of battery.
They're all dead.
So all the video is.
Well, you can
going
maybe
down.
shorten that and make like a nice montage for your YouTube.
Well, I mean, we're very near the end
fine.
anyway. So the
maybe
audio will carry on.
One of the last of the 993s, the 2S and 4S.
Yeah.
I just thought they were really, really pretty cars. They weren't as heavy looking as the Turbo. They had it just right. The design was just right, and then they're not a big car.
Yeah.
So maybe it would have to be manual. Obviously, not electronic. It's horrible. But yeah, that would do me.
Cool. What is the best value car you can think of at the moment? New, old.
Well, what about something like I know they've got a
Like
little
what sort
bit
of undervalued almost?
Okay. I know they've got a little bit expensive, but what about something like a Golf R?
Mm-hmm.
Which I actually think that the best type of car you can own in the UK for UK driving conditions, everyday driving performance, the type of roads we have is probably a hot hatch like Golf R and Audi S3.
Yeah.
RS3 maybe. RS3 is maybe a bit too extreme.
Yeah.
But that kind of car that has maybe like 300 brake horsepower, all-wheel drive.
Pint-sized.
Yeah, it's like, it's enough room to have your friends or family in the car and a little bit of luggage. It's a good size everyday car that you can use without feeling like Noddy.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Noddy is, just Google Noddy.
Yeah, and I think there's like the UK definitely. There's parts of the world that doesn't work.
No.
But like small hot hatches and stuff in the UK just fit the bill. Really well. Okay, and last question: what is the most interesting car for you at the moment? So the car that like you've Googled the most in the last couple of weeks, or like sticks in your mind as like really interesting.
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of people asking about Pista Aperta,
Right.
because we're trying to find out what is the definite final build number. Because Ferrari are being quite
number.
I think it's going to be 499, like the 458 and the 16M.
You think it's going to be 499?
Yeah.
What, like per country, per month?
No, that's it.
Nah.
For the Aperta. not
The
Pista
Aperta.
Coupe.
Sorry,
The
right.
Pista Aperta, so the Spider version.
Pista Pasta.
So it has been that car actually, but it's probably not, the most interesting new car because it is just another high performance collectible Ferrari. But I would say probably the McLaren Speedtail, just because it just looks weird as fuck.
It's weird. It's weird looking
It's like,
car.
what? When that was shown, I remember, I think the day before there were some images leaked.
Yeah.
And like we have kind of WhatsApp groups with customers and whatever. And I had this guy in Singapore and I sent it to him and he said to me, please tell me that's not the successor to the F1. And I was like, yeah, I think it is. It was like, you have to be kidding me. What the hell is that? And I think it's again, with McLaren, it's probably going to be another car that divides opinions so much, but it's going to be really interesting to see the final product, the final design. And I think it is the final design, but the final actual finish, especially things like the weird kind of fins on the back that are kind of, they're very
I want to know how that works because it's like bending of the...
Do you think it's like loads of tiny motors or what happens?
Yeah, is it just a panel that's flexible and then they sort of push it like this?
It's a guy with a stick.
Little goblin in the back.
But what is it even like? Because it's carbon, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to see now how McLaren and companies like McLaren, but McLaren in particular, are using this technology and adapting things to make it kind of do what they want. I can't even get my head around how they're doing that. But because I don't think you've seen that even in Formula One. But
yeah, because you're not allowed that sort of thing.
No, you're right. You're not allowed it in Formula One. But it is a really kind of different thing to look at. Even just sort of. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen the car up close?
No.
Because I know that Tim has, and because I watched his video and JWW.
Yeah, he's seen it as well.
And they were quite good because they kind of were up close to the car as well. But yeah, that kind of like weird paint and the kind of, it's just super, super weird. And I think to see one of those in the flesh
amongst other cars.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
going to be like, what the? I remember the first time I ever saw a Bugatti Veyron was the car had just come out, and for some reason, some nutcase took it to Brands Hatch. And at the time, I actually lived really close to Brands Hatch. And I remember seeing the Veyron and thinking, whoa, you know, this is just like really weird. Even though it wasn't. It was just like a big Audi TT. Really.
Yeah.
But maybe what we're seeing in that is going to start to kind of filter down to just more like everyday cars.
Yeah.
Like the smaller sports series.
Yeah, we'll start.
Like, will the new
crazy,
570 or whatever it is, 540,
Yeah, that's not
end up
far
looking
away.
like a weird kind of blob?
That's possibly Geneva.
Yeah. Will that end up looking like a weird teardrop thing? Like, I don't know, but
Who knows?
it's kind of like, it's
happening.
It's really interesting the way it's going now. And I think there's going to be some interesting things to happen over the next few years. Cool.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming along.
No problem. You're welcome anytime.
And for those that are listening, because no one's watching anymore, because I think we ran over the like 2 hours 15 or
dead.
whatever that it can record for.
Finished.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.